Hey everybody, welcome back to Praying Hands and Walking Feet. It's Tori. Today I just want to talk about homesickness or big feelings. What do we do when our kids have those super huge, big emotions that are hard to deal with because maybe we're dealing with some emotions at the same time? So recently, as you may or may not know, we moved into an RV and we started off on the road to live our life RVing, going from park to park across the United States, which meant or means that we sold our house. We packed up stuff that we really want to keep for when we go back to a house at some point in the future, and that's all in storage, and we left our families. Okay? And so we are on the road. And so our kids have had some huge emotions. It has been just about a month now that we have been on the road, but huge. We have had some huge emotions because back home we were 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, half a mile, closer than that, to a family, to grandparents, that the kids were just so, our lives were so intertwined. Okay? We saw my sister-in-law all the time. We saw my in-laws all the time. We had my parents close and my other set of parents pretty close, and everybody was around there. We had been there for so long that moving did create a huge void because we didn't get to see those people every week or anything like that. I mean, my kids, honestly, they were so happily, preciously, amazingly spoiled by family. They got one-on-one time with my mother-in-law every week. They got all the kids together time with my father-in-law every week. And so they are missing those special times to them. Even though they're loving this freedom, they're loving this lifestyle, they're loving what we're getting to see, they know it's super exciting, but there is a hole, there is a void, there is something they are missing. There is a way that they're not being fed because those relationships and those special times and those things that were so special to them, now they know that they can't happen because we are over 4 hours away. So it's not like we can do a weekly one-on-one time. It's not like we can do a fun night out. It's not like we can do a sleepover once a month. We can't do those things right now, and they know that. And so sometimes it's hit hard, and as parents, we have to help them navigate that. So it has been a little bit interesting because, of course, the first night that we got to our first campground, everybody was so excited. You know, we didn't choose to go too far, so it was about 2 hours away. And so our travel day wasn't that difficult. Everybody was excited about getting set up and all of that. Everybody was excited about sleeping in the camper. But the next night, it was about, I think the third day in, is when that homesickness really hit. And during the day, you wouldn't know it. During the day, they are riding their bikes, they're running around, they're finding other kids to play with, they're on the playground, they're doing the mini golf, all of the things, but it's at night. When we do our normal nighttime routine and then they go and they lay down in their bed, and just like us adults, at night your mind just starts taking over and going all of these places that you might not even know that you were thinking about, that you were worried about, that you had any feelings about, but at night, that's when your mind goes, hey, let's take a trip down this road. And so there was one night, I think it was our third night, that, you know, one kid came out and it was just melting. The emotions were just all over the place. You know, I can't even describe it. I don't know what I'm feeling. And our kids do have great emotional skills. We've taught them what their emotions are, and we are still in the process of learning how to regulate those emotions, but we can at least label them. Nope, we couldn't label it that night. It was just, we were melting down. And as parents, the third night in, we were trying to get the newness still worked out. There were still kinks, and so we were kind of tired too. But at the end of the day, we are their constant. We are their stable. And so my husband He just bear hugged and just held, and I know what you're talking about, I understand. And honestly, my first reaction when they came out of the room was, really? Why does it always have to be at night? Why does it always have to be at night? I have less patience, I have less grace, I am not as calm at night to handle these things. Why do they have to happen now? Why couldn't this happen during the middle of the day? Why couldn't this happen in the morning? I would have had so much more to be able to give than at night. Because also, we were doing later bedtimes and we were getting to bed later and all of that, just because of the newness and trying to figure out our routines and all of that. And so honestly, I was upset. I was point blank upset. So my husband took over, he tried to help. Then eventually I was like, oh, I know what's happening here. Okay. And once I knew what was happening, instead of just the, I don't want to go to sleep, normal kid delaying bedtime tactics, and I was like, oh, this is homesickness. Okay. It helped me reframe it. So I had to take a second and understand what was happening in their world, put myself in their shoes, so then I could regulate myself to then be able to help the situation. And we went through all of the strategies that we have. Oh, we went through everything. And then finally, I just bear hugged and we just laid here on the couch. And eventually, you could feel the release. Eventually. It took a really long time. It was over an hour, probably close to 2, before I felt that, like I could feel the shoulders drop. I could feel the emotional release of, okay, we'd worked through this. And I didn't want them to stop crying, because that's not helpful. Sometimes we need to cry it out. Sometimes we get to be sad. Sometimes we get to be upset. Sometimes it is frustrating that we are not in control and that we do have to go where mom and dad say. And we can't go back home without the whole family, because this is now our home. And that's frustrating as a child. And so I allowed them to feel all the feelings and just stayed there with it, as hard as it was. And of course, halfway through, here comes another one out. And my husband literally looked at me and he's like, okay, like that one used what I had to give, and I'm bear hugged on the couch, sprawled out, laying down with the child on me, going, but it's you, buddy. And so he had to muster it up again to help that child and to just cuddle. And I know, and it's hard, and we made this decision as a family, and no one else is going anywhere. We can always go back and visit and things like that. And one child recovered and got back into bed and was able to go to sleep. So he had to muster up to be able to help that one, and then that one went to bed. And then I was like, okay, no, I'm in for the long haul, because the one that was on me had fallen asleep. And I'm like, no, sleep is so important. Sleep will help everybody. Clearly they haven't been sleeping as well as we thought. So nope, they're just gonna sleep on me, and it's fine, and it'll be great. So he just shoved a couple pillows under my lower back here on the couch, and it was fine. I was like, you know what, in the morning I'll be sore, but everybody will have slept. They will have worked through another layer, another level of this emotion, and we will be able to move on from here, and so it will be great. So that was the big night. And then we've had a couple of little bumps in the road as we go, but not anything as big or as momentous as that one night where everybody was full on into their emotions. And don't think that the other one, the third one, didn't have any. It just displays differently, which is also so interesting as parents, because it displays as antagonizing or like pushing buttons or nitpicking. And so we have to remind ourselves that that's not a bad behavior, that is their way of communicating that they're feeling this way with us. But it's hard in the moment as parents, because we just want to be like, stop antagonizing, stop nitpicking, stop pushing buttons. And usually after we have those thoughts, we're like, oh, right, that's how that one tells us that they're feeling certain feelings. And so everybody was feeling all the things. But then the days went on and we kept moving, and everybody called home and we FaceTimed and we did all the things, and it got a little bit better. And then we moved from our first campsite to our second campsite. And I don't really think that we had prepared ourselves for how that shift and that change was going to work with all of us, because some of those feelings cropped back up, and this time they showed up as anger, which is my first go-to emotion. I will admit that. But anger is always a cover for some other deeper emotion. And so then we had to yet again come back with all of that compassion and all of that grace and all of that patience to go, okay, this is just going to be a day or two. We're going to work through this, and we know that as we change campsites and move, all of those are transitions. And I know from teaching for so many years that transitions can sometimes be really hard for kids. They can be hard for people, but sometimes transitions can be really hard for kids. And so then I get to sit back and go, okay, how can we make this transition a little bit easier? Well, a lot of times knowledge is power. And so equipping our kids with, this is what the campground that we're going to looks like. This is the area we're going to. Here are some of the attractions or historical sites or fun things that we're going to be doing while we're there, kind of a thing. Doing a recap. Okay, these were the things that we did do when we were over here. What things didn't we get to that we might want to put on a list for if we ever make it back here again? Those kinds of things help us kind of give us closure and help us move on and help build excitement for the next adventure, for the next phase or stage. So I hope that this helps you realize that whatever feelings are happening in your family with moving, with homesickness, with any of that, I hope this helps you understand that all of that is normal. We can help everybody through that. And if you are doing this full time and you're going to continue to move campgrounds and things like that, just take a second, take a step back and think about that transition being a mini move. And moving is emotional. We're leaving friends that we've made. Even if we've only been there for a week or two, we've made friends and now we're leaving. And there is a grieving process for that. It could be short, it could be like 20 minutes, it could be like 2-3 days, maybe even a week. But if we step back and just kind of give ourselves grace and give our kids and our husbands and our families grace in this whole process, it will go so much smoother. So I'd love to hear any suggestions that you have for homesickness, for moving, for transitions. I know there's some of you out there who have moved a whole bunch of times, either in your life or with your family now having children. And I'd love to hear any tips or tricks, anything that you know that has helped with all of those transitions. Please share them in the comments below, because the more we know, the more love we can show. See you next time.